This story right here rivals the sunrise and the sunset declaration every day is the most obvious thing that could have possibly have ever happened. CDC bought phone data to monitor Americans' compliance with lockdowns, contracts show. Wow, who could have possibly seen that coming? Shout out Edward Snowden. The government is spying on you. More at 11. Like, come on, man. Who could? Did you not think this was happening? Like, all of your digital vaccine passports, bro, they're tracking you. Like, come on. Come on. This is going to be a quick one. I have a good feeling on this because what else can you add? It's like, yeah, the government locks you down. They see how much they can get away with. They're going to check compliance rates to figure out how stringent they need to be with their next lockdown. Okay, cool. Whenever the climate lockdowns come out, they want to have opportunity. That's why they're moving everything. We're strapping on the tinfoil hats on this one. Trust me, bro. See how far you travel, where you travel when you're supposed to be locked down. Move everybody onto electric vehicles so that they can just decide to shut them down if you're moving just a little bit too fast. Have trackers on everything, put you in the little 15-minute cities, and that you'll own everything, that you'll own nothing, you'll be happy. Agenda 2030 in full goddamn swing. Like, come on. U.S. Center for Disease Control and Prevention purchased data. The CDC, once again. Like, okay, there was a lot of talk about defunding the FBI. Can we defund the CDC? Like, let's just get rid of them. There's so many different health organizations that really do a whole lot of not promoting health. CDC paid one firm $420,000, nice, and another $208,000. That bought access to location data from at least 55 million cell phone users. The contracts approved under emergency review. Of course, because of the coof pandemic, anything is justifiable, okay? Except for right-wing protests. You could spread the disease that way, but left-wing ones? Oh, please, let us lick the boots clean for you. Were aimed at providing the CDC with necessary data to continue critical emergency response, to track everybody, see how compliant, see how many good boys and girls were out there in response to the functions related to evaluating the impact of the visits to key points of interest, stay-at-home orders, really, closures, reopenings, and other public health communications related to mask mandates and other mask mandates with cell phone data. Interesting. And other emerging research areas on community transmission of the COOF and how effective were those. Oh, yeah, because we do any digging on any of that data, well, that's Rumble territory. The CDC said that they would use the tracking data to assess home by hour behaviors, curfew analysis. Interesting. Right. Oh, right. Yeah, that was that magical time when the virus couldn't be transmitted when the sun goes down. Or I'm sorry, only could be transmitted when the sun goes down. That was after locking everybody up, thinking that moving everybody through one entrance and exit at a given time, that was the best way to stop transmission. Makes a lot of sense. By exploring, yes, the percentage of mobile devices at home during specific periods of time. Data could also be integrated with other information to provide a comprehensive picture of movement, travel of persons during the pandemic to better understand mandatory stay-at-home orders, business closures, school reopenings, and so they're also spying on your kids as well. There you go. That's good information. And other non-pharmaceutical interventions in states and cities. Oh, weird. And given the fact that this is the CDC, those same people that were also responsible for giving you your vaccination card, they're running some numbers and they're checking some data. That's for certain. Under the heading labeled potential use causes for the data, the CDC said that it could be used to try to connect to the forced closures of bars and restaurants with, oh yes, of course. Here, we're just trying to make everything more accessible and easier to track for everybody. Sure they are. See, if anybody showed up with the coof and you were at certain places, it's just contact tracing, bro. How effective was that shit? Oh, I just heard that terminology just disappear into the ether because it wasn't all that fucking effective. But yes, monitored the adherence to mandated or recommended quarantines after arrival from another state and to examine the correlation of mobility patterns and spikes in cases at facilities such as churches, concerts, and grocery stores. Interesting. It would also, but how many concerts were going on at the time during the pandemic? It just riddled me that. It would also enable examining movement restrictions, such as curfews, to show patterns and compliance. The contract state. How adorable. Contracts were previously reported on by Vice. Yeah, I'm sure they probably reported on it. How it's a good thing that the government is spying on you. Vice, the former outlet of rebels, right? But the outlet only released a screenshot of a single page. Good old Vice. What else did you expect? Together, the contracts are 71 pages. They used one. They just left the 70 was just filler, right? Both were signed in 2021. The same year, new medical codes for the COOF vaccination status were approved. Holy! So the first full year that the vaccine was available, making sure that everybody was in compliance with the different mandates. How adorable. The CDC early in the pandemic received the data for free from the firms SafeGraph and Cubic. Interesting. CDC researchers in 2020 published 2 studies using the data. One focused on data from 4 U.S. metropolitan areas, finding that people moved around less when measures such as social distancing were imposed. Okay, your conditioning was effective. All right. Another found that harsh lockdown orders led to decreased movement. All right. Now they're just starting to rub their hands together. Well, there was no movement after states began lifting the orders. Interesting. Other research has also been used the mobility data for studies. Oh, okay. No CDC studies were published after the agency bought the data. Huh, interesting. You just bought it and you just figured out. Okay, so how can we implement what we learned here onto different other control mechanisms? How can we do that? For the COOF, the insights derived from these data provide essential information on the impact of the effectiveness of the policies and mitigation strategies. Jurisdictional stay-at-home orders and business closures had a profound effect on communities. Scott Pauley, the spokesperson for the CDC, oh yes, the government mouthpiece. These data, provide important insights to protect public health and have been used to understand population level impacts of the COOF policies. Yeah, that's nice, wonderful, fantastic. When are you actually going to get down to what you're actually doing with it? Individual tracking. There you go. Last couple of words. Although the data are anonymized, they're just random samples. Yeah, whatever. They can be used to identify people, research has shown. Yeah, of course, man. You're buying phone data. Of course you can figure out who owns what. The data CDC received were aggregated and anonymous, had extensive privacy protections, and could not be used to identify individuals. They cannot be tied to an individual and have multiple layers of privacy. Yeah, whatever, shut up. Last time I heard about that, the NSA was saying, no, we actually can't track individuals. Sure you can't. Firms such as SafeGraph and Cubic receive phone data from applications before passing them on to customers in sets. Insets from SafeGraph included neighborhood patterns, which showed how often people visited places of interest, where they came from, and where else they went. Yeah, exactly. And where they kept their phone for a majority of the day. You think that person could be living there? And then you can cross-reference with other bills that are there as well that you also have access to. Given the fact that it's the CDC, where the prescriptions go for those different places. Just wondering, guys. SafeGraph spokesperson told The Times via email that the firm compiles and provides objective, verifiable facts about physical locations around the world, like the address or operating hours at a particular point of interest. Yeah, so just extrapolate that onto the private sector as well. De-anonymized or used to identify or to track the movements or behavior of individual persons. That's accomplished in part by introducing randomized noise, the company said. Cubic did not respond to requests for comment. Shut up, we're working. We don't want to compromise our government contracts, you fucks. Senator Ron Johnson, top Republican in the Senate Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations, expressed concern about the purchase of mobility data. He's like, I don't want you guys tracking everybody. He's like, oh, shut up, Ron, you're just old. It remains unclear why the CDC tracked millions of Americans during the pandemic. It remains unclear. Come on, Ron. You don't need to play, dumb with everybody. You know exactly why they're doing this. Whether it continues to do so, it certainly does. In response to the COOF, the CDC should have been prioritizing the development of treatments. Yeah, refining those treatments. So, they kept certain organs a certain size, or also, more effective treatments as well. Weren't mislabeled, as like horse paste or something like that, heaven forbid, or, a fishbowl cleaner. That would be stupid if an organization like that, or even a sister organization, would send out a public letter or a public message to discriminate against effective treatment. That's just simply a hypothetical situation. No government organization that gets paid billions and billions of dollars and then got additional funding under emergency use would be that silly. Of course not. Walensky, said in response, yes, CDC Director Rochelle Walensky responds to the data in part of using the best science available. Hashtag TM the science. Okay. Our understanding of public health impacts and intervention and inform recommendations. Now, you're just trying to see where people were going and figuring out what more you have to do in order to enforce your draconian vision. Nightmare on the future. CDC also used location tracking data from Google, but never paid for the data. Yeah, because Google was more than willing to bend over and grab their ankles for the government, because so much crossover when it comes to former and current employees that are over there. So that just totally makes sense. She also said that the purchased data wasn't shared with any other agency or private companies. I don't have a hat around, but if I did, just imagine me putting on a hat, because that shit is total fucking cap right there. They're fucking lying to you. They're lying to you. Like, CDC is supposed to be a health organization. Why the fuck do they need phone data? Oh, we need to make sure that everything is fine and that we're just treating people appropriately. You're tracking us. You're seeing where we're moving. And just because this is in America, you can just go ahead. The NHS is doing the same thing in the UK. Canada Health is doing all the same shit. They enacted the same policies. They're going to be pulling the exact same tricks. So don't get fucking fooled again. And with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.